Something so unexplainable it rocks your understanding of the world around you. That way, you warn your pack about the danger. Even if you don't survive, the others learn to stay wary. Your death becomes a noble sacrifice, a meaningful event when you succumb to your terror in your last moments. And I barely managed to squeeze my own scream of terror in when I'd realized that the shriek that the creature emitted was not the one I'd heard before. It was not the primal yell that had haunted us for the last week. This was something new. Something that somehow had managed to find its way into our apartment complex, despite the precaution that had been taken. I spent half an hour looking out the eye hole trying to catch a glimpse of it. The dim light bulb outside provided just enough lighting to see what was going on. At one point, something suddenly obscured the light, and I heard a pitter-patter across my door. A second of confusion was followed by a terrifying realization, and jumped back from the door, trying to hold back my scream of surprise and shock. Whatever it was, it just crawled across my door on its many legs. It could crawl on the walls. This means that the door to the roof is now a huge opening in our defenses. In the morning, me and other guys from our militia carefully stepped out to take a look at the damage it had done. We'd found a bloody spot on the 4th floor and a long blood trail which led to the roof. There it led towards the edge of the roof where it ended. The creature not just found its way inside our house, it killed one of ours and then dragged him off to its nest. Since they are 2 creatures now, I feel I should start giving them the names. Ape Demon, or the Ape, sounds like a fitting description for the one that had been terrorizing us for the last few days. And on the next day, everyone unanimously started calling the newcomer the Crawler. So that's what we're going with for now. So if the Ape is a juggernaut that watches the streets, the Crawler is the infiltrator that sneaks in and attacks us where we live. A demon ape and the Crawler. God, just 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought that those are the words I'd use with a serious face. Since that event, we put a lock on the door that led to the roof. I think it was long overdue. It's just, we never thought we needed to do that. I pray that it will suffice to keep it out, and I make sure to have my curtains closed at all times. I'd hate to one day look outside and see that thing crawl across my window, and I'd hate to see me inside, an easy prey ready for consumption. I'm more and more concerned with what's our end game. There's no chance that the water in the pipes could have gone so bad in just over a week that it would become so toxic. Bacteria don't kill you in one night. They don't make you foam at the mouth. They don't make your skin purple. The water has some toxin in it somehow, which tells me that to our government, we are no more than unwanted eyewitnesses. If we make it to the other part of town where the gunshots are heard, we won't be rescued. We will meet a firing squad. The food becomes a problem. Yesterday I heard someone walking around asking the neighbors if they have some salt, just a cooking salt, to make their boring dish more pleasurable. I heard 3 of my neighbors tell them to get lost, but who am I to judge? When they rung my bell, I didn't open the door. I know that it's just salt that they were looking for, but you can never be too careful. Perhaps it was their way of gouging the situation. Perhaps they'll think that if I have salt to spare, then I have plenty of other food inside, and that I'm a viable target. Perhaps I'm just talking nonsense. 2 days ago, I carefully checked the door in the basement that led to the flight of stairs where the bandits live. It was locked on a hanging lock. crawler open and escape through it. It's probably a maze down there, so if I make a wrong call on where to get out of it and come face to face with the military or the beast outside, I'm done for. But it's better than pushing my luck by trying to escape through the surface. The only problem is getting to him before the bandits he lives with get to us. The cage gate that installed on their roof entrance has latches and a lock, which means that it can be opened by them, which means that it is they who decide who enters their flight of stairs, which means that they pretty much have a fortress within the fortress. I fear that when those doors open, they'll come out not to cooperate, not to beg for food, but to hunt, to prey on the weak, and so far we have no solid way of fighting them back. But the crawler and the bandits aren't our only problems. Yesterday, the ape learned that it's strong enough to rip the cages off the window on the first floor. Worst, it was the apartment in the same stairwell as mine that it chose to attack. I heard its grunts outside, the screams of terrified people downstairs, the weeping metal that was being torn apart. I don't know what the people downstairs did to provoke the beast. Perhaps they thought that the cages would protect them and didn't have their curtains closed. Perhaps they saw the creature and decided to indulge themselves in a staring contest with it. I don't know. I didn't ask. One of the tenants who lived there managed to escape. I could see the terror in her eyes when I walked out of my apartment to see what was going on, just in time to have her rush past me. But I knew that someone else was less lucky. I heard the screams of a man who the ape pinned down. I heard the loud thump when its fist collided with the man's flesh. And you know that thing where you can tell where the sound is coming from by how much it is distorted by the echo? Well, judging by how it all sounded, I realized with terror that the screams were coming from that apartment on the first floor, and that the woman fleeing in terror didn't close the door on her way out, which meant that when the ape would be done with the man downstairs, it would be free to enter the stairwell and roam all 5 floors. Perhaps it wouldn't even be able to leave if it got lost here. I had to do something quick. It was very risky to go down there and try to close the door, but I knew that if I didn't do that at that moment, I'd be dead within a few days. It wasn't bravery that pushed me to such reckless action. It was desperation. I was facing a paradox. Stay safe and die, or risk your life and live. And my body was telling me that it wanted to live some more. I carefully made my way down to the first floor and took a peek at the door. Just as I suspected, it was wide open. I could hear the ape munching on its already silent prey. But I could also key in its keyhole. Carefully, trying my best not to make a noise, I inched towards the door. I wanted to scream in terror from the fact that my steps weren't completely soundless, but I guess the creature didn't hear it over the sound of the bones breaking under its bite. I was now right next to the door. One more step, and I'd be inside the apartment. The ape was now mere meters away from me. Somewhere around the corner, if I messed up, I'd have seconds, maybe 2, to say my prayers. There was no going back now. Carefully, I slid the key out of his keyhole. On its way out, it clanked. The munching stopped. It took a step. I slammed the door only hearing the heavy thud when his body collided with the ground and rushed to safety before the crawler showed up. Looking back, I don't feel guilty about what we did, but I feel guilty for not feeling guilty, if that makes sense. I should have felt something. A few hours later, when I look out the window, the body was already gone. The second body, the one of the man who got mauled in his apartment, was left where it was. We knew that the door to the apartment could off the intruders, so we didn't bother to do anything about it. I talked to Maxim about the welder and my plan to get his tools. He liked my idea but warned me that there was nothing we could do at the moment. Sneaking in would be dangerous, and we didn't know where to look. It's dangerous to confront them, he told me. They are armed, and they can overreact to us entering their territory. Maybe we should just let them know about our plan. That way they will cooperate. I reluctantly agreed with them. Back then we didn't know that the time for negotiation was already up, that those scumbags had already made up their mind. Because yesterday when I walked up to the 5th floor to kill some time with Natasha, I found to my horror that the door to her apartment was wide open, and there were signs of struggle taking place in her hallway. I suspected the worst, but I also didn't abandon the hope. I rushed through all of the rooms, but she was nowhere to be found. Only the old man from the 1st floor that she'd taken in was lying on the floor of the guest room. A small pool of blood formed under his left side. He was still alive when I turned him over. He didn't answer my question as to where Natasha was, instead just whispering, "I'm sorry, young man. It is all our fault. The sins of the fathers." I didn't have time to heed his cryptic words. I needed to help him or he'd die from building, but I knew that Natasha could be dying somewhere at that very moment. Perhaps somewhere very close. I rushed back to the hallway trying to find any clue as to where she could be, and sure enough, there were a few drops of blood on the floor leading outside and towards the door to the roof. It was dangerous to enter the roof on my own, but I didn't care. I rushed outside looking around. Nothing but a small, barely noticeable trail of blood droplets. I feared that it would lead me to the edge of the roof, but instead, it was heading towards the cage door at the end of it, the one that led to the bandits' hideout. The cage was already locked. I started shaking it and screaming for them to let Natasha go. Reckless of me, I know. If I had stayed there for a few more minutes, I'd no doubt attract the crawlers and be done with. But one of the bandits emerged from the darkness beyond the cage and shook his pistol at me.
"Keep it civil, Runt. Your girlfriend is in good hands. We'll take care of her. After all, how does that saying go? If you love her, let her go. Ain't that right?"
He gloated. I spat in his face. When he lifted his gun, wasn't alone. There were at least 10 men with me now. If we probably couldn't break through the gates, what mattered was that when 10 angry men shows up at your doorstep, you listen to what they have to say.
Open up.
Maxim shouted through the cage grates.
Open up, or I swear I'm going to break these down.
What's all the ruckus? The same man who had been shooting at me before walked up to the cage. He cast me an angry gaze before looking away. While he looked confident, his earlier smugness was gone.
Give us back the girl, or we'll feed you to those monsters outside.
Maxim hollered. The bandit raised his hand in a mocking gesture of fear.
Easy, Pops. We just took a girl for a night out. No harm in that, right?
Maxim kicked the cage in fury, and the man on the other side jumped in surprise. It was now clear that he was feeling tense, and his calmness was just an act.
Now, if you think we can't tear these down, you're very mistaken.
Maxim shouted.
Calm down, Pops. I was just joking, okay? We could use a bit of a humor these days,
The man said, doing his best to keep smiling.
I'll go look for her.
He disappeared. I was getting more and more anxious. Who knew for how long she had been in there? Who knew what they had been doing to her? Every minute counted. We heard some arguing coming from within. The men were shouting at each other, but due to the echo, I couldn't make out what they were saying. Thankfully, I didn't hear Natasha scream. The shouting subsided. Then a few minutes later, the man walked up to the cage separating us. I could see Natasha behind him. She had a nasty bruise under her eye, and dried up lip on her lip indicated that she must have been bleeding from her nose. Thankfully, her clothes were intact with no sign of tear, and there was a strange spark in her eye that seemed almost out of place. A spark of enthusiasm and determination.
Here's your girl.
The man grunted, giving her a push towards us as she was passing him.
We didn't do much to her, see? Now scram. And her food?
Maxim inquired.
What are you talking about? It was a down payment for keeping her safe with us,
Was the man's reply as he closed the gate and walked away. Maxim grunted, and I could see the fury in his eyes. To him, it wasn't over. He wasn't going to let that slide. Something unknown in the distance roared. We hurried back to safety.
How are you? Did they?
I asked Natasha once we were inside the building, but she raised her hand to stop me. I'm fine, don't worry about it. Their leader got scared used to. She grunted and shook her head. He thought it would be all over in a day or two, but he miscalculated. I imagined the situation the man had found himself in, trapping not only himself but his helpless child and everyone else in this hell. Even though I wanted to feel angry at him, I just couldn't. I told him about your plan. Natasha interrupted my train of thought. He says it makes sense and he's willing to lend his tools and skills if we find a way to sneak him and his son out. They guard him well. There are constant patrols on the 4th and the 2nd floor. Of course, they mostly drink and listen to music, but they have guns. I wanted to say something, but then Maxim approached Natasha and put a hand on her shoulder. "You alright, girl?" "Yes, I'm fine," Natasha said, leaning back. She didn't like the fires in Maxim's eyes. Good, he said, staring into the distance. "I have a daughter, you know, younger than you, but still." He gave Natasha a shoulder